Hey guys, today's video is about ranking all of the weapons in Rust on a tier list. Now I know I'm not the best PvPer, but I have played this game since 2014 before it was called Experimental Rust and before the complete overhaul of the game, so I like to think I know something about it. Now I'm going to take into consideration not only PvP effectiveness, meaning how much they damage players, but also overall usage, how much they cost, and effectiveness when raiding. So we're going to be taking an overall comparison in between these things. Let's go ahead and start with the wooden spear. This first opinion might be controversial, but I'm going to put that thing in D tier. Considering how many times I have spawned in, cut down wood, and soft-sided bases to get a jackpot off of dumb builders, not requiring a workbench and just requiring wood, we're gonna slap that thing right on the D tier. Because you can get a great start crafting a bunch of these roaming around the map and literally just soft-siding people or finding bases that are dumb. Now onto the MGL, multiple grenade launcher. We're going to throw that one in S tier. One of the best counter raiding defenses, almost always a one-shot kill if you get close to somebody if they're lower than 100 health. This thing has saved my butt on probably hundreds of raids, especially if you're a solo and can get your hands on one. Shooting into a group of clan members piling into a base, you can take down multiple people at once. For that reason and many others, we are going to throw the rocket launcher up there as well. Not only can you take down a clan of people piling in through a door, obviously you can raid people with it. You can cut off an entrance or the back of a cave with instant rockets. This might be the overall best weapon in Rust. Based on the versatility alone, HV rockets to kill turrets, incendiary rockets to cut off entrance points, and obviously the regular rocket to raid. That also factors in with the GL and the smoke rounds, but it's not as big of a deal. Next, we are going with the SAR, semiotic rifle. I'm gonna go ahead and place this thing in B tier. So pretty good effectiveness PvP wise, one of the go-to weapons for early on in the wipe, not too expensive to craft, but the main thing that I like it for is the explosive ammo rating. Now being a solo player, you really need to silence explo ammo raid if you're going to be safe from the server. So this thing has so many uses, definitely belongs at least in B tier. Let's tackle this stone spear next. Now the wooden spear is great for soft sighting bases and raiding things further away because it has such a good range, but I'm going to have to give the stone spear an F tier. Because you're really only making wooden spears extremely early on wipe, and why would you make a stone spear? Odds are you're going to be using the stone on your base and you're not going to be carrying around a bunch of extra stone, and you usually need like 20 of them if you're soft siding through bases. So yeah, for that reason, this thing's going in F tier. Next, let's go with the LR. So a decent weapon, military weapon, non-craftable. I am placing this thing in A tier. Not gonna make it up to S tier just because of the overall versatility of these items so far. Obviously it's decent for PvP, one of the top tier weapons, but not as good as some of the others. Now if this thing came standard with an 8x, boom, it would go right in front of the launcher because it's a beam with 8x on, but we're gonna leave it in A tier. We'll put the Ioka in D tier. Sort of for the same reason as the wooden spear. I mean, you can get super lucky with this thing, using it in the first 10 minutes of a wipe, or if you're scrubbing around some high geared players, you might get lucky and it literally snowball from an Ioka to full gear set in AK. It does have a lot of sneaking around and ratty plays mixed with luck involved, but I think it deserves at least a D tier. If you're a god with this thing, you might even go higher, but yeah, we'll leave it at D. For the flamethrower, that's going straight to F tier. Who the heck is doing flamethrower raids anymore? And if you're raiding a base with wooden door or floors, they're not gonna have much, and you might as well just use shotgun shells. This thing is total crap. M2 definitely deserves a spot up here on the S tier. We're putting it in between the launcher and the GL just because of the mag size on this thing. 100 rounds, it can be used in a ton of different situations with an 8x or even explo ammo rating, and it is a military item, non-craftable. Nail gun, we're gonna throw straight into E tier. Not total trash, you can still do some things with it, but semi-trash. Don't expect to get any kills on that on a full geared player unless they're absolutely garbage at the game. MP5 goes straight up to the A tier behind the LR. It's the go-to SMG weapon. Craftable, extremely high rate of fire. If you're a beamer, this is your go-to before you get too complete in game. I believe the custom SMG deserves a spot up here in B tier behind the SAR. High rate of fire, not as good as the MP5. You'll definitely get some kills in close quarters, but other than that, long range, this thing kind of sucks. so we're gonna leave it up there in B tier. That brings us to the semi-automatic pistol, formerly known as the P250. Now, before this thing got nerfed, it would be straight up A tier. It used to be a sniper rifle basically, but we're gonna put it a little bit above the Ioka and Wooden Spear up here in C tier, but just not as good as the fully automatic custom or SAR, which can do long range. For the Revy, let's throw that E tier, but better than the nail gun. Might deserve a spot up here in D tier, but I'm going to leave it here. Probably the first weapon that you'll craft that uses actual bullets. Decent gun, but very low damage unless you're getting headshots. Now the Python, this thing is high damage, similar to the Revy, but we're putting it straight up in B tier. I'm gonna slap it in between the custom and the SAR. No rating utility for it, but extremely high damage and very useful in auto turrets. Might deserve to go before the SAR, but we're gonna leave it here in the middle. Plus the animation of taking this thing out, pistol whipping it, it's definitely a plus. Next, we're gonna take the compound bow, put it over here in D tier behind the Ioka. Good stealth weapon. You can get some kills, but you're not going to one-shot a full metal guy. So the Ioka is going to remain a little bit higher because you can one-shot a full metal gear. Next, let's go ahead and tackle the AK. We'll definitely put that in S tier, but the question is, does it go between the M2 and the GL or the launcher and the M2? I'm going to leave it here in between the GL and the M2. Some people might have it over the M2, but personally, I would rather have an M249 than an AK in most situations. Now, it is kind of situational, but give me the M2 over the AK at any point. So we're going to leave that thing right there. Next, we have the DB, the ultimate scummy rat weapon. A talented rat can make some absolute plays with this thing. So we're going to put it in B tier, just ahead of the Python, but still behind the SAR because it doesn't have any sort of rating capability other than wooden doors. But get a couple experienced nakeds with DBs and you can make some plays. That leads us to the water pipe, which, I mean, with a slug, you can technically be doing the same thing, but it only has room for one shell. So definitely has to go below the DB. Going to put it behind the semi-pistol. If I was in a fight and had one shot or a whole clip, definitely take the semi-pistol over the water pipe. Next, let's do the M39 rifle, another non-craftable military weapon. This thing definitely deserves to go over the SAR, but it is good enough to reach the A tier. Slap an 8x on this thing and it's a very accurate semi-auto sniper rifle. Plus the fact you can raid with it using silenced explo. Might even deserve to go over the MP5, but we're going to leave it behind it. Now we have the Tommy. There's probably a ton of debate out there if you'd rather have a custom or a Tommy in a gunfight. Personally, I'm taking the custom, so going to leave the Tommy here, B tier, but behind the custom has a slower rate of fire, and personally I would take a custom over a Tommy. Next, we have the Spas. Being a non-craftable shotgun, this thing has pretty limited uses. If you can get your hands on one, you can get some use out of it, but we're going to slap it in B tier behind all of these weapons. I mean, it's good for base infiltration, base defense. It may even deserve to go below the water pipe just because it's not craftable, but let's be honest, in a fight, I would rather have the Spas than the water pipe, so we're going to leave it up here. Okay, the pump shotgun definitely deserves to be in C tier. I would love to put it behind the water pipe, but we can't do that. Way more expensive than the water pipe. However, we definitely have to throw it in front, and we're going to put it in front of the semi-pistol. Once again, an experienced shotgun player can make some plays with this thing. It's just learning and crafting it that costs the most and puts it down lower. On to the sniper rifles, we have the L9. Now this thing is like pure gold to a roof camper, and in the hands of an experienced sniper, man, they can create some chaos on the server, pissing so many people off. So we're going to slap this thing in S tier behind all the weapons though. Maybe deserves to be here behind the LR, but just going to put it here for now. If you've got a Deadeye and you can get some headshots with that thing, you can cause some chaos. Now Bolty is pretty good. We are still going to throw that thing where I would have put the L9. Behind the LR here. Once again, pure gold for a roof camper, and a marksman can do some major damage even in some medium range fights. Still behind the LR, and if you're in a fight and you have an 8x on either of these weapons, I'm taking the LR with an 8x, which is why we're going to put it behind it. On to the M92 pistol. I think this thing belongs B tier, right in between Python and DB. The mag size on this thing is crazy. It's just you're not going to be making any medium long to long range plays with it. I might even take a Python over the M92, but we'll leave it here for now too. Lastly, we have the two main primitive weapons, the crossbow and hunting bow. Crossbow's going straight to C tier behind the pipe. If you've got a small clan early on in game or even a solo that's great at shooting the crossbow, you guys can make some big plays, especially in early wipe. And there's nothing worse than being chased and hunted down by a couple of people with crossbows. So that's why that thing belongs in C tier. And lastly, we've got the hunting bow, which is going to go in between the Revy and the nail gun. So looking at this, the only thing I might see is the Revy should be higher. But if we think about it, these three weapons aren't higher because of strictly PvPing. The compound bow has some serious sneaking capabilities, as well as the Ioka, and the spear can be used to raid, which is the only reason that they're higher than the Revy. So just going to leave it like that. And yeah, I guess that's my final tier list. Let me know your guys' opinions on this tier list. You can go ahead and flame me in the comments, but consider the reasonings that I have them all placed here, please. And yeah, that's all I've got for you guys today. This channel is mostly about entertaining, and I hope that you guys learn something from it as well. Anyways, I'll see you guys soon in the next video. Have a good wipe.